week on Erotic Awakening. Realities of being a Power Exchange follower. Travel tales. And Octo.
Welcome to Erotic Awakening, an exploration of all things erotic. If you are offended by adult topics or prohibited by law, we recommend you stop listening right now.
The Erotic Awakening podcast, as well as workshops by Dane and Dawn, are offered free of charge to our community.
Because of the expenses involved, we're grateful to those that support us through Patreon and donations.
Awesome people like Cerberus.
Fantastic people like K is for Kinky JT.
And Wunderbar people like Carrie.
Hi, Dan.
Hi, Dawn.
How are you today? We just had some technical issues.
Yes. We are supposed to be recording the live show right now, but...
yeah, YouTube wasn't doing its thing.
Did not work out for us. So
we hadn't changed anything on our side, so that was really weird.
Most frustrating, but we'll go ahead and put together a regular podcast, and we will figure out the live bit and bring that back. And sorry for the people that joined the stream. And
it was people I recognize names of, too.
Absolutely.
So,
and they got to watch me.
I even took a shower for them. they got to watch you what?
They got to watch me be frustrated at technology not working.
Yes, with your face in the camera, but that's okay. Well, we're getting ready to change things up with how we do the podcast. So
yes, we are. Very significant change. For those that have not joined, I think we've mentioned this in very small places.
Some of Discord, we've definitely mentioned it on Discord.
Absolutely. If you're on the Erotic Awakening Discord, you already know about this, or joined some of our Patreon only classes, and now everybody else is in the know. It is official. Guess what we did last night, Dawn?
Slept in our tiny house on wheels for the first time.
We did indeed. We are going on the road, so to speak, in that we now have an RV, a travel trailer, and a truck big enough to pull it. And come August, we are officially going to start moving that thing around. So if you've always thought, gee, it'd be nice to have a cup of tea with Dawn, this is your chance. We are coming to a town near you.
So awesome. Well, and this is crossing our fingers. There is one last hurdle to jump, but everything's in line. So except for this one little thing. So crossing our fingers. So because we are ready to go.
Yeah, absolutely. The chance to go and travel and be everywhere and see everything. It's just going to be a great adventure. And it's really funny because neither one of us have really lived in a RV before. Have you ever been in it?
Neither one of us have really lived in that. This is like the condo we're in right now. Oh, except for one other apartment. It's probably the smallest place we've lived in. Oh, no, we've lived in some small spaces.
Oh, yeah.
Never mind. That's how Porch Time was built because we were in a tiny place. Oh, and this thing doesn't even have a porch. How are we going to do that?
It is absolutely a tiny little, the funny thing is an RV, it's a travel trailer, but we have been referring it to our tiny home with wheels, and that's what it feels like. Mm-hmm. So more about that adventure as we go. Somebody on the Discord asked us if we were going to do some kind of a travel blog. We are going to do something like that. And I'm not exactly sure what the format is, but it's really going to be our opportunity to process all this travel and process what it's like to be Kinksters. For me, one of the things that strikes me is like sometimes I'll see, oh, look, there's a great looking party, but it's in Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. Well, screw it. Let's go to Las Vegas and go to this party, and we'll live in Nevada for a month, or we'll live there for a couple of weeks.
Yeah. And I like that whole idea. We've got Patreon supporters, patrons, and just people that we know, and other vendors that we know, and other people we've met at events that we know. And it would be nice to just go visit, park somewhere in a state, and say, hey, if you want to join us at the campfire, come join us at the campfire.
Absolutely.
I really like that idea. So we're still getting it all situated. We know where we'll be in July. We know where we'll be in August. We know where we'll be in part of October. But I just had this thing. Someone was on one of the RV groups that I'm on Facebook. Someone was talking about, oh my God, make sure you don't have pineapple flags. Make sure you don't have pineapple stickers. Make sure you don't have flamingos, which I hadn't even heard of before, right? And people are going, oh my God, why? And they're like, because those are symbols of swingers. Oh no! And everybody's up in arms over the swingers. And I'm like, oh, pineapples, flamingos. I'm on Amazon buying my stickers to go
I was
next to
gonna
the
say,
door
and what's
on
it-
our house.
What's it mean when they have a pair of handcuffs hanging off the door? I don't- is that-
Exactly.
yeah,
Well,
so-
I think I'm going to buy a little leather pride flag. I want it to go somewhere. I don't know if it's going to be a flag or a sticker or what it's going to be, but something with a little bit of, hey, we're here. Are you like us? Because come and join us for coffee. So sort of thing. I just
we
think
might
that would
just
be a
blow
great
off.
idea.
We might just blow off what we were going to talk about, since we were going to do that on the live show, and just talk about this.
Yeah, I can do that. I can
I-
do that. Well, we should talk a little bit about the other, because this could be part of the other topic. But go ahead.
I'm like,
Like you
part
need
of
my
my thinking
permission.
is that so when I've camped before, when we've been to outdoor events, one of the things I really enjoy about it is getting up, getting my coffee in the morning, and walking around and having conversations with other people who are awake first thing in the morning, having their coffee. And I keep thinking, like you were just talking about with the pineapple and a leather pride flag. I think it would be cool to have things like that hanging outside of our RV, so that people that are into similar things will say, "Oh, hey, I'm into that too. Let's talk about that." Whether it's a leather pride flag, or unfortunately we won't have motorcycles to park in front of the RV, as that is one of the hobbies that we are temporarily suspending, as we can't figure out how to strap motorcycles to the roof of an RV. Actually, there's ways to do it. We've simply opted to take a different route.
Right. We could have done the toy hauler, but that's a bigger unit than what we want at the moment, and it would take up some of our living space.
But I would very much dig, and I'm going to be careful how I say this, because I'm not soapboxing. I'm not trying to start anything. But if you have your political affiliation flag hanging outside of your RV, that tells me that might be somebody that I'm not going to have a lot in common with.
Depending what the affiliation is.
Right.
But true.
or that I do have
Right.
If, on the other hand, if you've got one of those posts in the ground, I can't remember, signs, where it's like, if we believe, here's what we believe in this house, is that all, that science is real.
Black Lives Matter.
Lives,
love is love. Yeah.
Right. If you had one of those in front of your trailer, I'd say, well, we probably have a few things in common to talk about, right? So I'm not opposed to doing things like that, but none of that's, there's a trap with that. And people that are new to the podcast could be, what is this podcast about anyway? The trap in that is that just because somebody has a different political view, or just because they have a different philosophical view, doesn't mean that they're not a good person. Doesn't mean that they're not somebody that you have something in common with, that you want to have a conversation with them.
That is very true.
And so do you have any concerns that hanging a
Yes.
leather pride flag outside your trailer might prevent conversations, or might create the wrong conversations?
That's more my fear, that someone will look it up and figure out who we are, and then they have something against us, sort of thing, and can cause problems. So, but I always have fears like that. So I would keep it on a minuscule scale. I wouldn't have the big flag, hanging from the awning or something, unless we were at an event, right? So I want something small. People would have to look for it to see it. That type of thing. But the other thing is that if people don't like us there because of our flag, we're only going to be there for 2 weeks to a month anyway.
Right.
And then we're moving on. So, yeah. So I don't want something that's really in your face. But that's the way I roll anyway, right?
Yeah.
When I have bumper stickers on my car, I have bumper stickers, but they're usually small and tucked in the corner. So if the universe wants that person to see it, they'll make it glow or something like that, right? It doesn't have to be big and in your face.
I totally agree with that. There is this, this idea of microaggressions isn't just, it can be also when somebody states a view and you go, okay, well, if you're not a crazy person, then you could come over to my trailer where my view is more right-minded, right? To recognize, just because we have this Erotic Awakening podcast, right? And we're kinky motherfuckers, and we run, and we have a particular open-minded, perhaps, a view of sexuality. And
We're sex positive.
thank you, sex positive. We think swinging is a good hobby if we're just not very good at it. Me watching you with another guy is like just not that big a deal. That doesn't mean that anybody that doesn't hold those views is wrong.
Right.
So that's the trick when you get into this RV lifestyle of ours, is to not be closed-minded to at all, right?
Mm-hmm. I think you're sitting there like, how did I get off on that, right?
So this ends up being more of a blog post than anything else, apparently, for this podcast.
So that's okay, because I might actually swing it into the other topic a little bit, because I'm kind of curious how we're going to do that whole thing, right? So not only are we kinky, we're power exchange. Mm-hmm. So in the stuff that I'm packing, I actually packed a white apron in case I needed it.
I will go ahead and when I do the show description, I will say, listeners that hang out with us for at least 10 minutes, we're going to get to our actual topic. Because I know where you're going with that, and I will go ahead and feed you the line to go into that.
Ooh, a segue.
So Dawn, because we are in a power exchange relationship, you are, the term that we use is bellet. Mm-hmm. In the past, we have used submissive, and we've also used the term slave. Bellet, meaning, for those that haven't heard the term before, beloved servant. Mm-hmm. As my servant, how are you going to take care of me in the RV tiny house lifestyle?
So, that's a good question, because you haven't told me how you want to be taken care of yet. So I feel like I'm taking care of you already, in that you needed to go to sleep last night. You had a long day yesterday. Mm-hmm. You needed to go to sleep. You worked some over the weekend for your real job, and you needed to go to sleep. We're in this little 30-foot trailer with the dog, and I want to put things away, but you need to sleep. So we've got the door that closes. So, and then I ended up having your coffee ready for you when you got up this morning, even though it was a new coffee pot and I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And you said it was more of muddy water than it was of coffee. But, so I feel like I'm just rolling right into that role at the moment. So
let me flip this on you. What is the role if you didn't know anything about power exchange except for what you saw in fantasies, right? Be it 50 Shades, or even the story of O, the French version of the movie. Mm-hmm. Hustler did another version. I haven't seen that. Or maybe you've read Marketplace, etc. Or maybe you've just been on FetLife and run into some people that have this fantasy view of power exchange. What do you think a fantasy servant would be? What would that role be in an RV?
I think nudity is required. I think shackles are required. Maybe a gag. Things like that. So I think in fantasy world that what people would envision, like, oh my God, the slave's going to be, they're going to be in this dynamic while they're on the road. And, I can just see that. Maybe you would have me tied up in the trailer as you're driving down the road, something like that. But just from past experience of friends and stuff, when they found out that I'm power exchange, I know that's what goes through people's mind, fantasy-wise, right? Kneeling, naked, eyes lowered all the time, waiting for direction all the time, obeying commands all the time, things like that. Whereas in reality, what happened last night? You left for the trailer first. Mm-hmm. I still had to get the dog ready and stop by the grocery store for a couple of things because we decided to do it at the last minute. And you said, take care of the bed stuff, right? So I had to get pillows, re-put on pillowcases, grab the sheet, grab a blanket. I wanted to make sure it wasn't the ones on our bed here in the condo because we probably weren't going to be at the trailer every night. So I'm shoving those into a huge freaking, garbage bag so that I don't get them dirty, and dragging that out the door and pushing it into the car. And, and I've got the dog, and I forgot her dog food. Slaves don't do that in reality.
That doesn't sound very sexy at all.
No, it's not sexy, but it's part of the deal here. I mean, this is...
So what's the difference between, what is it? If it's not about the sex... What is it?
I want to argue against that. What do you mean it's not about the sex? But I get the question.
Certainly yesterday, right? We didn't christen the trailer.
Nope.
Did you get anything out of those being told what to do and having to go do the chores?
Yeah, because I think there's a piece of me that is afraid once we get on the road that we might forget the power exchange. You know, we're going to be so busy trying to find the next camping ground, figuring out who we're going to visit, if anybody. You know, what's the next place we want to go? Moving day, right? There's so much to do on moving day. You've got to drain the gray tank and the black tank and the water thing and the electric thing and there's so much to do.
So this is, you might be hearing us talk about the RV thing, but this is going to be the same for anybody in whatever life situation you're in, right?
Right.
Once you've gotten together and you've got your normal day-to-day life stuff going, right? We talk about that when we talk about the initial phase of power exchange, and it was certainly true for us, but for a lot of people is that pink cloud. It is wow, I can't believe this fantasy is coming to life. And a lot of it, with any new relationship, right, you probably do have, it's probably more about the hot sex and the thrill of being, doing a service for the first time and, that kind of stuff. So how do you make that transition? What takes you from going in that pink cloud into just going, wow, this is just, I got to walk the dog. I don't want to walk the dog, I guess, that transitionary phase to say this is something that I'm going to do that you have been doing for 20 years.
And afraid of, after 20 years, still a little nervous about maybe it might get left behind while we've got so much other stuff to concentrate on.
So but I guess my point being though, why aren't you just a bedroom slave? Why aren't you just a submissive? Why aren't, what's the reality of being a power exchange slave if it's not sexy times and it's not chains and it's not a lack of free will? It's not I don't have to make any more decisions. I don't have to do things on my own anymore because that's sure as heck not you.
Yeah. So, and, I want to say that really the way you said it isn't the way you meant it, of just a submissive or just a bedroom slave.
Fair.
So because
yes, thank you, and I appreciate that.
And I know that's not the way you meant it, but someone might have heard it that way, and that's not the case. So I don't know, because when you told me to get the sheets and the pillows and stuff last night and bring those, and I knew I still had to stop by the grocery store and get the dog and things like that, and I needed to be at the camper before you were going to go to bed, and I was pushing that timeline, right? I knew I was a little bit late and was really trying not to be, and that's part of my way of taking care of you. So, I do get the sexy times, I do get the other stuff, but that's not the foundation of what we've built in our power exchange. So there's probably the main thing that I was just going to say is that, a lot of people, or a lot of women that I know of, would be like, oh my God, what do you mean he just told you that and walked out the door like you were going to do it, right? Don't you get resentful? And it's like, no, actually, it's like, oh yeah, he thought of me. And he needed me to do this thing, and he was confident enough to know that I would do it if he just said, I need you to do this thing, and then walked out the door and went to go drive to the trailer. So, there's a thrill in there somewhere. There's a...
See, maybe the term that you're looking for is, and it's not a great term, but there's a rightness to it. There is it is a lot like when Buddhists talk about using the proper speech, right? It's not good speech or bad speech. It is skillful speech. And for you, perhaps, it's something along those lines. This is our skillful way of being. This whole RV adventure for us has just been another example of how we do power exchange, which is you taking care of me taking care of the relationship. And you just outlined great, how you're taking care of me, right?
Right.
To step back a little bit from that, we're doing the RV because I said we're going to do the RV. we spent a bunch of money on a truck to pull an RV because we didn't have one of those. And we're selling cars, and we're
the motorcycles and the cars.
Yeah, let's hold off on the motorcycle for a second.
Hi.
Well, hold off on that for a second, right? I'm selling monitors. We're selling computers. You're saying, I would like to put these things in storage. And I'm saying, no, that's not serving the relationship. That serves your fear of this not working, or it serves your materialism. And there's nothing wrong with finding a recliner that really works for you, right? But I have to take care of the relationship, and that means, if we are doing this thing, and part of this thing is letting go of stuff, and we've done a lot of letting go of stuff. Now, that's not to say that we come back to this whole aspects of taking, I take care of you as well as the relationship, and that I never said get rid of your motorcycle. We made a joint decision to not buy the RV that has a toy hauler. Well, even that was taking care of you, because I feel like you are simply more comfortable starting with a 30-foot versus a 40-foot or a 50-foot RV, right? And if we were going to take the motorcycles, that much would have meant a much bigger RV or a less comfortable RV, right? Part of where I'm driving, it's got to feel like home. It can't feel like a garage on wheels, which is some of the RVs that we looked at, right? Mm-hmm. So keeping the motorcycle, selling the motorcycle, it's your motorcycle. That is something that we're letting you decide what is best for you to do, right? So for me, what I feel that this distinguish, and you're quite right. I don't mean this to be just this or just that, but there is a distinction, not to say better or worse, but there is a distinction between what you do, right? The term we used to call slave is that you are committed to taking care of me. Mm-hmm. And that means going to the grocery store, figuring out how to make coffee, picking up the dog, all the things that you just said, so that our tiny house adventure, or whatever our adventure is, and this is no different whatsoever than the first apartment in Grandview that we got, which was really nice neighborhood, but a crappy apartment, to moving into a 5-bedroom house with a poly partner, to moving into this condo, right? We make them work, and you have adjusted your service to be appropriate for the environment.
Mm-hmm. I have. Thank you.
So I have zero concerns that this next change isn't something that we're going to figure out how to flow into it, right? You'll take care of me, and it'll be easier because when I say go get a cup of water, it'll be 2 steps to the sink and 1 step to me. Because everything's so damn small.
Down the stairs and then
right.
So
or the big poly house we used to have where you wouldn't have even heard me.
You would have to have texted me if you wanted a glass of water. So it's going to be a new adventure, and it's going to be something to look forward to. And the things that we're talking about, like the reality of being a slave, right? So the reality of being a follower, whatever language works for you. You just said it's my choice if I sell my motorcycle or not. Mm-hmm. Well, that's not in a fantasy book. You know, the whole selling of something isn't in a fantasy book to begin with, right? But I'm allowed to sell my motorcycle. Well, yeah, or not. Mm-hmm. It was my money that bought it. I mean, this was the decisions that we made. It was a hobby, so my money bought it. So I don't have to sell it, but I see Dan making decisions based around my fears and trying to get me through my fears. And I realized that having my motorcycle in storage was actually going to cause more fear and more anxiety than not having it in storage, and selling it to someone that could use it. So that was part of my decision, actually. So, we would have to come back to Columbus to winterize my bike at some point, right? So, or someone's going to have a key, who's going to have the key, who's going to winterize it, blah, blah, blah. And then I get all that stuff in my head, and that just causes stress with what we're trying to do. So, I've got someone coming tomorrow, and if he doesn't pull through, then I've got someone else. And it's actually, it's actually really cool because, you're not able to be with me tomorrow when I sell this motorcycle, I've got another leather person in the community that is motorcycle savvy that is going to be there with me. So, so it makes it safer. And so I am going to miss that when we're on the road, which is totally off the topic, totally off topic. But I am going to miss that. We do have great friends here in Columbus. So we will have to come back. I think this is still going to be like our base of operations sort of thing because our kids and stuff are here as well. But yeah, so it's going to be different. And these are not things. Now, if this was a fantasy story, our campsite has a picnic table right outside the door. Have you noticed that?
I did notice that, yes.
Yeah, I noticed that. I love picnic tables. They're the right height for what it is I like to do.
And I was going to say, this is another reason we thought about getting a toy hauler, because we are putting the spanking bench in storage.
Yes.
It would have been nice to take it with us.
It would be nice to have like a little mini dungeon.
Yes.
The spanking bench, the liberator seat.
And that's quite a reasonable definition of toy hauler.
Yes, it is. We may have to look into that.
Side note for people that are not RV savvy, a toy hauler is one that you could like put your golf cart or motorcycle into the back of the RV and travel around.
Yeah, but it does take up some space.
You know what doesn't take up space?
What is that?
People signing up for the newsletter.
It only takes up space on my notes, and I'm actually okay with that.
Fair enough.
So we have Leah from Missouri,
Ray from Ohio,
John T. near Seattle,
Clarissa from Virginia,
Ash from Ohio,
Davida from New Mexico. I got there.
Bethany from Florida,
Susan from New Jersey,
and Gregory from Alabama.
All places that we may end up.
Oh, these are all in the 48, aren't they?
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, I'm going to Alaska too. As soon as Canada opens.
As soon as Canada opens.
No, I'm not going to. As soon as it opens. But I'm sure as hell I'm not going in the wintertime.
Exactly. So head over to eroticawakening.com and find the Get Your EA Shout Out button and just sign up for an occasional newsletter to get the latest podcast news plus discounts and more.
So where were you talking about these naughty pics?
Where was I talking about these naughty pics? I asked people on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Discord, FetLife. Is that it? I think that's it. So I was asking people, I'm like, if we're going to be on the road, so where are some sexy places that I can take pictures if I want to take a naughty picture in each state? And I was hoping to get a place in each state that
we got a good start, though.
We did get a good start.
I don't know where this first thing is, though, so I'm looking it up right now.
Mothman statue.
Well, there's a Mothman museum.
Try Mothman. Oh, Mothman statue.
West Virginia.
Whoa. I need to read that story.
Whoa.
Look at that. Oh, wow. That's like someplace I would get caught being naked.
Yes, that is a very cool picture.
That is. So how do I do? Okay, so I want to do like
anyway,
sexy time.
For those that are not familiar, we're looking at statues of them. Well, just type in Mothman statue. It popped right up for us.
What was that? West Virginia or something that came in? So, so I asked people where to take sexy pictures at. And of course, I was hoping for places out of the way so that I could be kind of naked, but this is like right next to a store. So I would have to be really creative on doing a sexy picture. Of course, sexy to me means naked, kind of like follower, slave, submissive means naked. So, but it doesn't have to be that way for it to be sexy. So that one's kind of cool. That would be kind of neat.
Other cool places to take naughty pictures include the Michigan beach. You can certainly see that.
Mm-hmm. Someone said there's nude beaches in Florida, so that would be easy to take pictures if cameras are allowed.
Good point. Side note,
beach.
One of the places that I plan to take the RV is nude campgrounds.
I want to do nudist. Yes, if anybody has any nudist campground ideas, please let us know. So, but then someone else, which is one of our patrons, said that her basement in Connecticut is where I could do sexy pictures for Connecticut.
Where's Lady Kaya live nowadays?
Connecticut. And this person is in Lady Kaya's town.
Oh, well, hell, that's a two.
Yes, so that would work.
Monument Rocks in
Kansas. And someone said Monument Rocks is really out of the way, so that would be cool. Monument. You know, someone on my vanilla hiking Facebook group today asked where they could do naked hiking. So, and people were trying to give them ideas.
Well, good. Monument Rock in Kansas is really super pretty.
I didn't know Kansas had places like that. I thought Kansas was like fields and stuff. This is like rocks and desert in Kansas.
If you're not familiar with Monument Rocks in Kansas, well worth looking at.
That's cool.
And finally, wrapped around a redwood, which is, we've done the redwoods before.
We've done the redwoods before, but no, that was before my weight loss, and I had messed up my leg, and we found a rooster out in the redwoods. We have pictures of that rooster.
Damned little wildlife out there we found, but we did find a rooster.
We did find
kind
a
of
rooster.
hanging out.
Yep, and then was there another one? Oh, and then someone I just saw on one of our other things said the tallest thermometer in California. So I forget what else it was called. I think there was another word with that. But yeah, see if you can do tallest thermometer in California. Oh, there it is.
Ah, well, that's a pretty tall
Cool. Yeah, but that's exactly what I'm looking for. I don't know that exists. So that would be really neat to, maybe I just have to wear short dresses and flip an ass cheek. I keep thinking boobs, but boobs are kind of obvious. So maybe a short dress and a breeze.
I will point out the Reddit group called Hold the Moan. Apparently, you can get away with a lot, according to that subreddit.
Awesome.
Truver sent you a
Rainbow octopus
on Discord, but not
He
nearly,
did, indeed.
which, thank you, Truver. That was very cool. But it was not a cup.
It was not a cup, no. And you know what? So I got a package in the post office box, and it was from someone here in Columbus, and they used their real name. So I don't know who they are really because they use their real name. So I don't know their fet name. I don't know anything. And being a director at the space, I saw people's real names all the time and made a point to forget them. Right. So I didn't want to remember
attach
people's,
it to the scene name.
Right. I don't want to attach it to
Absolutely.
a scene name. I don't want to call someone by the wrong name. Things like that. So I don't know who this person is by their name, but they created a water cup for me. And it's got my name in purple, lowercase d, and my name is in purple up the side of it, and then the rest of it is tentacles. It is so cool. That is one of the cups I'm going to take in the trailer.
Obviously, somebody knows you very well.
Absolutely.
So if you are that person and listening now, you should let us know what your fet name is so we actually know who you are. We'll be able to put that together.
Yeah, because I don't want to say their real name on the podcast. So, but yeah, so I'm not putting the name with the face. So absolutely reach out. I would love to thank you.
Absolutely.
So,
other than that, Chip the Tentacle Guy has sent quite a load of tentacles. We're saving those for a special thing, Chip. We came up with a really cool idea
of what to do with that list of links. Yes, that would be awesome.
And I came up with an idea for a new podcast while we were talking.
You did?
Campfire Kink.
Oh, I like that.
I will have to make sure that
it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist, and that our friend that used to run People of Kink no longer wants to run People of Kink because it's kind of the same format idea.
Oh, yeah,
to sit there and talk to people over a campfire about.
I'll reach out to them. I think they have a different podcast going on right now, but I know they were thinking of bringing back People of Kink, but I think their energy is more in this other one.
It goes something like this. Welcome to Campfire Kink, your kinky campfire sitting around podcast. I might work on that intro a little bit. I'll work on that a little bit.
So, and even if we don't do that, people that we come across on our travels, right, we'll have on this podcast as well.
Minotaurus, I think it was suggested we do it via Instagram. Maybe we can be an influencer.
Ooh, that would be awesome. Take a moment to support the podcast. Rate us on Apple Podcast, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you listen.
Or just tell your friends.
If you like what we're doing, head over to patreon.com/eroticawakening to take a look at the options like discounted stuff, extra content,
free books,
and more. We also do our Zoom meetings once a month with our Patreons, which is, we call it Let's Chat, and it's just a very informal chit-chat about a topic.
And it's going to work.
It's going to work?
Yeah, the technology is not going to do like our live podcast tonight.
So, no, it'll be fine. So, Bye, Dan.
Bye, Dawn.